Hi, welcome to today's design session where we're going to focus on the tool of using paint. You can communicate with us by sending us photos of your home, asking questions. Anytime in the month you can do this at #DesignSessionsLive on Twitter. You can also leave questions on our Facebook, and if you want to, you can leave questions on our Instagram or our YouTube videos because we check all of those. And let me just give a word to renters, okay? This is so important. So again, many of you live in homes and you're looking at doing all of your house. Some of you are in school and you just have a bedroom that you want to decorate and you want to know what color to paint it. Some of you live in a condo or an apartment, and if you do, and if your house is not owned by you, you probably are concerned and you've probably already said to yourself, I don't need to watch this because I live in an apartment and I can't paint. That is absolutely incorrect. Here's what people care about. They care that when you move out, the house is in as good a condition as it was when you moved in. They don't want to paint out your orange wall. You would have to paint out your orange wall. But whatever color those walls are where you're living there, they really honestly don't care. I have had my own kids live in many different rented apartments and condos, and I tell you what, we don't even ask permission, we just do it. Now, every time the homeowners, if they ever see it, and most managers and stuff, they were never going to see your walls. But if they do, they're like amazed because it's not just a paint color changed, the whole house changed and it looks amazing. But they appreciate the fact that I'm willing to take the responsibility, or my child is willing to take the responsibility of painting the walls back to the Navajo white or whatever color it was to begin with. As long as you do that, you can paint. I promise. And if there's a problem, you tell them to contact me. What do you think of the slideshow that I just showed you, the before and afters? I mean, clearly it makes the point that painting your home makes a big difference. Of course, there were a lot of other changes from the before picture to the after, but for today's purpose, I want to focus on what paint does in a home. There's 5 things, as usual, that I want you to take away from today's session. The very first and most important is, when do you paint? When? That is the key question, and I'll bet you'll say, well, it's the first thing I do. Wait till I tell you. Number 2, how do you select a paint color? I'm going to show you how I do it, and if you pick up on these pointers and these tips, you will no longer be faced with, I don't know how to pick the right color. Number 3, what kind of finish you can use in your paint projects. What finish do you use on the walls? What do you use on the crown molding and the casements and the baseboards and the doors and the ceilings? In many cases, it's different, so I'm going to teach you those things. What about an accent wall? A lot of you want to know, when do you use an accent wall and what color can you use? Do you go lighter or darker? And which wall should your accent wall be? I'm going to teach you that. And number 5, how do you pick an exterior paint color? Let's say you want to paint the outside of your house. How do you come up with the right color? I have the best idea for you. If you're ready, we'll get started. Let's talk about timing. So timing is so important, and I am going to break the mold here. You do not select paint first. In fact, paint is the last thing that I ever select for a design project. There are a million colors of paint to choose from, but there may be only one or two pieces of fabric that you fall in love with. There may be only one piece of art that you absolutely love and can afford. There are so many other things that are much more difficult to pick out and select, and so you want to select those things first and select your paint last. I remember years ago there was a trend where there were women who would go to people's houses and they called them color specialists. You know, they'd spend $500 or $1,000 and they would hire this person to come in and select their paint colors. Based on what? I mean, how did that colorist have any idea what their furniture in the future was going to look like or what they were going to do in that space? They didn't. And I saw some of the biggest train wrecks you can imagine. So don't paint first, because if you do, you're going to be locked into something that's going to make all the other selections difficult. I want you to feel confident when you select a paint color. I don't want you to have to put swatches of paint all over your walls just so you can feel comfortable with it. When you paint a color on a wall, you really have no idea what it's going to look like unless the entire wall is painted. Why is that? Because that little piece is right next to your probably white wall or whatever your original color wall is, and it's very deceiving. A color can look dark and overbearing when you just have a piece like this on a white wall. It's not possible to go around and paint one whole wall in every room of your house a different color. It's just too much work. So I'm going to teach you how to pick a color and know with confidence before it goes on that it's the right color. Let me give you an example by showing you some pictures of my projects. In this one, you'll see the tile that's going in the master shower. This is kind of like a whole project where it's laid out all the way across the table, and you can see where we were headed in this project. And from that, I'm able to pick my paint colors. Here's another one laid out in time for the clients to come and take a look. You'll see over here to the right all these different fabric options. Here's the tile we're using in the bathroom. This is the quartzite that's going to go on this shower wall. Here's the countertop, the wood flooring, and even a SketchUp photo. And right here in the center is our proposed wall color and our trim color. So I'm able to make those selections once I know more of what's going on and the client has selected. Here's another one where we picked out this particular tile in a kitchen. So you can see here, this is the cooktop backsplash, the cooktop countertop, and then to the right here, look at how this color matches so beautifully. The field tile, not the marble, but the glass tile is in this kind of smoky taupe color, and then this creamy color here is selected based on what's going on with the marble. Had I picked the perfect taupe and the perfect cream and then tried to find a backsplash to match, it would have been much harder. Did I teach you? Do you understand the way you pick a wall color is based on your fabrics, your art pieces, pillows that you might buy? You might go to Home Goods and find some amazing pillows that you fall in love with. You might be at Z Gallery and find a piece of art that you go, I love that. Buy that, and then pick your color palette and bring your, take your fan like this and actually match the color as best you possibly can to the colors that are in the art piece. That is the easiest way to do it. Let me give you another way to pick a paint color. Maybe you don't have any fabrics or pillows or art pieces to start with. Maybe you just want to get inspired. If you are on Houzz.com, you may see a room, and I know this because the most common question I get on my profile on Houzz is, what color is that wall? I used to take the time to go through and find the exact color, and I decided not to do that anymore. You know why? Because it's not that the person asking the question is in love with the actual color, because most of the time photographs don't photograph properly. It's not the actual color. So if I say it's Pashmina by Benjamin Moore, well, you paint your walls Pashmina and it's going to look exactly like my project does in real life, but it's not going to look like the picture you fell in love with. That's what you're asking. So I figured this out. I go to Benjamin Moore's website and I go here to color, and it says find your color, and I click on that, and then it says color collections, and I click on that. This takes me to all the different types of collections. For example, this is color preview, and it's going to take me to this really cool slider bar here that I can go through and I can pick the color that I see. So here's a photograph that I selected from the internet. I think this is beautiful. And it's kind of almost a purpley gray sort of color. So do you see I just run this line here right next to smoked oyster, elephant gray. All right, now that one looks like there's some potential in it. So I'm going to take a screenshot of elephant gray. Now we're going to go back to affinity colors. Ooh, it could be in there. That's interesting. That's really dark, but it's pretty. I'm going to take a look at that one. Oh, choose a space. Okay, well, let's do that. Look at that. That's so cool. You can do accent walls and trim. You guys, I just answered your problems. You can check it out in a room before you ever put it on your wall. I think this color, Soho Loft, is stinking close to our color. My goodness, that was really fun. I'm so glad we did that together. Now you can take your colors that you've done and you can put them all together, and you can open with preview, and we're going to see which colors are the best. So that is Soho Loft. That's darker. That's Evening Skyline. That's so pretty. And Mauve Desert. So if I were you, what I would do is actually make screenshots of where you put it in a room, because it gives you the best impression. But do you see how I did that? I just basically was patient enough to go through the different collections and find the colors I thought looked closest. That's how you're going to get the color that you see. This was a family room that we did in a client's home. And the one thing that they really, really wanted in this house was to keep this area rug. It has a kind of a burgundy red base color. Now, do I want to paint the walls burgundy red? No, but I do want to bring that rug back in because it is the foundation. In fact, it's so large, it's one of the largest surfaces in the room. So we can't forget about it. How do we make this rug that the wife is not particularly fond of, but the husband loves? How do we make it work in this house? I took a picture of the rug, and what I did, if you have something as big as a rug and you can't carry it with you, I actually take my paint fan and try to get a paint fan if you can. If you can't, you can do things like, you can get these brochures at most places like Lowe's and Home Depot and things like that that have colors, or just go and grab all of the reds, but have some sort of paint colors with you. For me, I would take my paint fan, I would look through here and find my reds, and then I would just pilfer through, basically slide them through until I laid this on the rug and found the right color if I wanted to repeat that red. And here you can see where I've laid out the fabrics that we chose to use. There's like a paisley, a repeated paisley here, a stripe, several solids, a herringbone and a houndstooth, and a velvet. And then over here on the top left, kind of a smaller piece, and that is like that caramel color, which is in the rug. That's what I chose to use on most of the walls, as well as the window treatments. So we went from there to now selecting my paint color, and you can see right here, I'm sitting on the floor with my paint swatches, trying to find the right red. Now, we have a video on this that's hilarious, and we'll put it in the design sessions as a bonus video to you guys. It was so funny. I go through and I'm trying to pick out the perfect red, and I narrowed it down to 2 reds. And I'm like, do you remember that, Dorian? And I'm like trying to say, well, now this one goes slightly more orange, and this one goes slightly more blue. It's so slight, you know, to the naked eye, you couldn't necessarily tell. And I turned them over, and they're exact same color. And I was like, okay, well, that's embarrassing. Well, no wonder I couldn't choose between the two. They were both perfect in their own way. So there you have it. That was how I picked the red. And where was I going to put the red? Was I going to paint all those walls red? No. I did it as an accent color, as a accent wall, a focal point wall. So here you can see what that room looked like when it was finished. You'll see that the rest of the walls, I ended up going, actually not with the caramel color. You see the caramel color window treatments on the left, but I went with a very soft, almost a faux finish back at that time. looks like a plaster finish. So it's very creamy, but has just hints of that caramel color in it. But that red wall behind the sofa really brought that rug in beautifully, I thought. Whenever you have that dark color, you're afraid to do the whole room in it, make it an accent wall, not the all over wall color. So let's talk about accent walls. This was going to be a girl's bedroom. She was I think 6 or 7 years old. She loved really bright colors. And her mother wanted her room to be fun and bold and exciting. So we started off with this floral that has, look at this like tropical color palette, and the turquoises and the oranges and the kind of the rosy peachy color here, and the lime green. Well, you can see here by what's on my desk, to the right, there are solids, and then there's that green fabric. I pulled all these fabrics together to make the selection, and then you see what's right at the top? I took basically the color of that flower right there in the center, and I selected that, I would call it a deep rose color, but actually even more exciting than deep rose. That sounds kind of old-fashioned. This was a really bright, fun color. And from that, I decided again not to paint the whole room that color. So keep this in mind. What do you do if you're going to paint a strong colored wall, like in the last one, a red wall? What are you going to do? Use it as an accent wall, not an all-over color. But you can use it in the right places and it can make a huge impact. And you don't have to be afraid of starting with such a dark color. So my other issue, and you're going to see here, is that I had the entire house to take into consideration. So this is one of the questions I think that someone had asked me is, do my colors need to go throughout my entire house? Does it need to go from room to room to room? Yes and no. So in most of your main areas, your living room, dining room, family room, kitchen, hallways, the general areas, even on into the master bedroom sometimes, I try to keep my color palette very consistent so that it feels like it just flows. There's not a jarring feel when I walk into another room. But that rule changes when you get into, let's say, a powder room and you want to do something a little more fun, or into a kid's bedroom or a playroom or a craft room, or even in a laundry room. But here's how I do it. I connect the spaces of those more brightly colored places by continuing to bring my color theme in. So right here, I'm showing you a color. Just so you know, I'm going to tell you right now, I love Benjamin Moore paint. That's what I use in all of my projects. This one is called Storm, and it was the main color I used for the entire house. So how did I bring the color Storm, which is gray and cold, into a very bright, sunny room? Well, there are areas of the walls in that bedroom where I used Storm, but then I used my accent color, and I would think it came together very successfully. Here's the rest of the house. You can see Storm on the walls with a very crisp white, I think it was simply white, as our casements and baseboards and staircase and wainscot. All right, so that's what you see, and then you walk into her room, and it's like this. Here you see to the left that strong, bright, I guess I would call it almost a coral color. It has a lot of orange in it, but it has a lot of pink in it at the same time, and it's very vibrant. But look at the curtains that create like a canopy effect. And then you see the other fabrics that you saw from the very beginning, how that ties in. But look here, straight ahead, Storm is on the main walls, as well as in the carpet. I have an off-white creamy color with gray grid pattern. That tied the rest of the house in so it wasn't such a jarring effect, and then we were able to still do our bright, fun colors. And this is looking back in the other direction. You'll see that we used that coral color again inside the back of the built-in behind the bubble chair. And you see over here to the left, there's Storm again. So that's how you can successfully tie your accent colors and your kids' rooms into the rest of the house by bringing a little bit of the main color in as well. So are you beginning to understand how I do this? I don't just take a paint fan and go, how do I feel right now? Oh, I want a gray. A gray's so in. I like that gray. I don't just go and paint my walls that color. How do I know if that's going to go with anything else in my house? I don't do that. I start with well, what art do I want to put on the wall? And what pillows do I want to buy? Okay, I start with my other stuff. So let's take a kid's bonus room here. This is what it looked like before. And you can tell it's that color that sort of like 10 years ago, 12 years ago, everyone was painting their house. I think this is like probably crisp khaki or something. If that color sounds familiar, it was very big at the time. We took this and the room, and then I decided, okay, here's where I did come up with, I want to do a kid's room. They have 3 girls. But I don't want it to feel so girly. Like their bedrooms are going to be girly, but one of their daughters, the oldest one, wasn't as foofy. So I thought, let's do something that's fun and bright and energetic, but still would go both ways. Guys could be in there, boys could be in there, girls could be in there too. And I found this great green fabric. This one on the top left has a geometric pattern to it. And then there was also some green grass cloth I considered, and you see the stripe here down on the right. And then you'll see all these paint colors. Now, you know what that is? The one at the bottom is the white that you see behind the grid pattern. Then there's a soft green in case we wanted that. And then there's 2 khaki colors, and then my bold green. Now, this green both went with the stripe pattern and the geometric pattern. And I also found a piece of art. It was a poster that I could use in the windows. So we went from there to here. Now you can see I was able to find a green sofa. The pillows in the stripe and the geometric right here on that sofa. And then you see the colors on the wall in the stripes. Those are the colors. Let's go back right here. This is that softer green. There's the khakis and the white, and that's all in here done in a striped fabric. And then you see here to the right 2, these were actually roller shades that we painted to look exactly like the poster here on the left. Now do you see how the colors all come together so beautifully and create a fun room for kids? And over here on the right, you can even see that we were able to use an interesting green geometric pattern rug on the floor, and then look behind the television. That bold stripe of that Kelly green is bam. Now that is an accent wall, and that made that room so much fun. I know the kids love it. One of the things that ties it so well together is the white of the built-in here, the white on the door, and the white stripe that runs through. We also have white on the baseboards and white on the ceiling. So there's a color connection all the way through. And the colors that are on the wall here, these khakis, those were used as well in other areas of the home. So how do you select an accent wall? Well, there are general rules, but they don't always apply, and just like in anything. So for example, I would normally say your accent wall is your focal point wall, right? It's the wall you see when you first walk into a room. However, not always can you do that. For example, my own living room, when I walk into my house, I see a mirror and I see an opening to an office. I don't see the wall I chose to put my sofa on and make an accent wall. So sometimes it doesn't go by the rules, but in general, if you're going to go into a bedroom, whatever wall you put your bed on, which should be your focal point wall, that's the wall you do as your accent wall. So you guys have seen my living room, and you've seen it a lot of different colors. Sometimes at Christmas time a few years ago I had it in that really soft sea breeze color, and then the next year it was a really rich turquoisey color, like a grayed turquoise color, kind of peacock. And then this last year I took it to charcoal, which was really fun. So I sort of love my accent wall because it gives me an opportunity to be crazy and fun and change things up in one day. I mean, some people could probably paint an accent wall in an hour. It takes me sort of a day because I tape off and I make sure I get it right. You know, how you paint is really important too. What color was it before? Oh, it was white. I painted out my living room white a year ago. In fact, guys, I was reading in my journal this morning. It was 1 year ago today that I painted my whole house white. You know, and I love white, white, white. And then I put this piece of art on it, and it just died. It was like, it didn't do anything. And I needed it to do something. So picking out, and you know how I picked my color? My painting. I took my painting, I took my paint fan, and I picked out this dark charcoal color, and that's how I painted my wall. Because I knew that what whatever color I chose, if that painting was on it and that color's in the painting, it's gonna go. You guys, I am giving you freedom and the ability to pick amazing, exciting, fun colors based on your artwork, and then you'll know it's gonna go. But here's the thing about an accent wall. I said it earlier, an accent wall is the opportunity to do something bold and something like outside of the box and not be afraid it's going to dominate your room. So when do you decide to do an accent wall? Kind of whenever you feel like it. Here's a picture I found. I think it was on Pinterest, and I loved it because I loved the dark gray charcoal walls. But look how when they open up that little closet door and there's an inside, there's a little desk area. Very, very cute use of space. They chose like a blush, sort of a stronger than blush color. So by painting something different color, it's really fun. You just have to know what, when, and where. So the general rule is pick the wall that you want to be your focal point. Now in this next space, I'm going to show you how we did several different guest rooms, and it was really fun because I'm really into navy blue right now. So as the designer, I got to pick the colors for the different guest rooms, and I thought, why not do sort of a navy blue room? Well, an all navy blue room is really strong. And when I'm going to paint all of my walls a dark color, I typically do that if the room is rather large, not rather small. So here's what this room looked like before. Now, I also decided to use a soft kind of a gray color for the main walls. And by the way, in your PDF, you're going to see Rebecca's favorite grays, and that color will be in there. But we went from this to this. Yeah, huge impact right there just by doing the wall. Now, yes, it's got new furniture and bedding and all that kind of stuff, and the window treatments. It all goes together. But just painting that wall navy blue took that from your average looking room into a wow room. You'll also see that I lined my window treatments with navy blue on either side. It was really fun. There's navy blue pillows in the center that brought it together. And here's the thing, when you use a dark color wall, you typically want to use light colored accessories or furniture pieces or fabrics on top of it so that you get that great color contrast. I went really crazy, and I did the bathroom. But you can see that we've got the white and the navy, and the bathroom itself, where there's not tile, is painted in navy. So all of that navy blue with the white tile and the white fixtures on top of it is so crisp, and just with that one little accent wall made an incredible impact. This was a great project I did in Virginia, and it's really fun because I used the principles I just taught you. 1, you paint last. 2, you paint based on something you have that you love or that you're going to buy, a piece of art, a rug, pillows, or colors. So do you see here? This is the photo that my friend Sudie in Virginia, she's my friend now, she wasn't a friend till I met her. And on the left-hand side, you're going to see in her living room, she had bought this really oversized, large painting. It was so big, it was almost the size of her sofa. The best part about Sudie's place is her sofa and her 2 chairs were very neutral in color. But I wanted to change this room up and make it look amazing. So I took this painting and I decided this room is so kittywampus in the way the furniture is placed. First off, let's get rid of this hutch. Let's put this in another location on the right-hand side. And do you see what she did here? In the very back wall, she used 2 arched mirrors. And I love these. I think she got these on Ballard.com, if I'm not mistaken. They are arched mirrors, and you know what? They actually cover windows. At the end of this room, there was a window on the left and a window on the right, and she covered them with mirrors. She had done that before we even got there, and I was like shocked because most people don't think to do that. I do, and I love it when someone else does. But look at that. That created a symmetrical feel. So here's what I decided to do. Take my color focus from this painting, because she loved it, and make it not something on the side wall, which is kind of an afterthought, but something straight ahead when you walk in. Now, you would think that was going to be my accent wall, wouldn't you? Wrong. What I did was I took my color hues, and do you see on the far right of that painting, there's an amazing, what I call lipstick. In fact, I think it was called lipstick, the color. Incredible, strong, hot pink orange color And I said, that should be our accent. So we bought pillows in those colors and we put them on the sofa. So we take you from this photo to what this room looked like when I was about finished. There's the painting between the two mirrors. There's that sofa underneath. Took that hutch out, moved everything around. But you see that light fixture there? It was very where she was and not where she was going. So we brought a new light fixture. And that hadn't arrived yet when I took this picture. But already you can see by just taking everything and moving it in the right location. I know this is on paint, and right now it sounds like it's on furniture placement, but it has something to do with it, okay? That's what it looked like then. This is what it looked like when it was finished. Wow. That is, to me, such a huge difference from before to after. Talk about a focal point. Do you see how the light fixture that we bought, it's like an orb with a chandelier inside of it. Look how it brought in those two mirrors on either side. The main wall color stayed the same, but I did art on the left that brought all those other colors in. And then these beautiful tulips that were placed on the table in front. But here's the accent wall. It's coming. It's coming. Here was the opposite side. When you were in the living room, you could look across and see the dining room. Wow, is that ever a sad looking dining room? Beautiful table, has potential, great ceiling, but it needed something. So, bam, that's where I put the accent wall. Is that like amazing? That is that hot pink orange color on the wall in the dining room. So do you get it? Long room, living room, the mirrors, the orb chandelier, the sofa, that painting, and that painting has lipstick in it. And across the hallway in the dining room, all those same colors surrounding, and lipstick on the wall. Now that is fun, exciting, life-changing, thrilling design work. Don't you think? Well, I can tell you what, my client thought so, and she was one very happy lady. Now, you can also do things with accent walls that can actually change how a space feels. Not just how it feels like, wow, it feels pretty, but how big it feels. And I had that challenge in my son's apartment in Chicago. This is how big it was. And if you don't think this is small, I'm here to tell you the entire apartment was 300 square feet. It's even smaller than I thought. Let's see, I can touch both sides at one time. I mean, part of this room is taken up by this wall heater over here. So we had a brick wall to deal with, and we had this floor. And Scott was living in Chicago. He's from San Diego. He really wanted it to be warm colored. So I said, well, let's do an accent wall. Here's what I'm talking about. We did not ask permission. But I can tell you, when he did sell this place or move out, they actually used his apartment after photos to be on the front page of the website that sells, you know, apartment things that when you're renting apartments, they loved it. Do you see on the left here? This wall is very short. But what if I took this wall and then I brought the color down the hallway? Because when you walk in, you see not just this 7-foot wall, but you see kind of this feel. So if I brought that color around, it might trick the eye and make it feel like it was bigger. And then at the last minute, I actually decided to wrap it into the end of this hallway as well. So the question now was, well, what color are we going to paint it? Well, Scott loves orange. You know, it's one of those colors most people would not ever paint, but it works for him. And let me show you what we did. He had in his bedroom that had more brick walls, this piece of art that we had bought at Z Gallery. And do you see the colors in there? It's a very abstract piece. And you see the orange that goes shooting up and out? And then he has got these little orange vases. That was what we used as our color inspiration. Now, when you're doing oranges, you have to be real careful to get the right shade of orange. This here was our piece of art. We color matched it, and then we went to Home Depot and we bought paint. Good old orange paint. Once we got that, we started painting. And here I am, a photo of me actually painting. You can see how, imagine if we stopped the painting right here on this wall. Look how as we turn the corner, it actually makes that wall look longer. It's a fake outer. And that's what we did. So we went around the corner, and then we ended up going on this wall as well. And this is how that wall looks now. You can see how that orange, imagine if that stopped right there, how small that room would feel, but by wrapping around, it made a huge difference. So I want to talk to you a little bit about using dark colors in your space. I am a fan of dark colors, but they have to be done carefully. Generally speaking, I would say it is for rooms that are larger, not smaller. It's for rooms that have higher ceilings, not lower ceilings. Just this year in 2017, Benjamin Moore announced that the color of the year for 2017 is shadow. It's a beautiful dark amethyst color. And this was interesting to me that they chose to use it on a natural stained stairwell, as opposed to, I could see this with white pickets and white painted stairs. You know, I think that would have looked really good. They used it with a natural color, which is pretty. And here's why. Purple, the opposite color that is a complement to purple, is gold. And so this natural kind of honey color stain complements purple very nicely. If you're going to use dark colors, make sure you watch our design session on lighting, because lighting will be essential. And you're also going to want to bring in accents that really make it look even better. Here is a very, very dark, sort of a midnight blue. It almost reminds me of a man's suit, kind of. Oh my gosh, my nose is itching. One of the things that made this possible and that they could carry it off is the very elaborate white ceiling. The white ceiling is a great contrast with the dark walls and the white around the fireplace. But here's the trick to using dark colors. If you're going to have dark colors on your walls, it looks amazing if you have off-white, white, or creamy colored fabrics in your upholstery. Here's a dark gray, very dark gray charcoal wall in a bathroom. And you'll notice that instead of doing it as an accent wall, they did all of the walls in it. Why were they able to do that and not feel overwhelmed? Because of the crisp contrast of the white tub, tile, sink, ceiling, and it looks like even their mirrors, their mirror cabinet doors are in white. In this room, you'll see the black fireplace, and the walls are like a kind of a jungly green, but the ceiling is white, the casements around the windows are white, but notice that the doors are black. And then they have light carpeting. See the light on the bottom and the light on the top with that kind of a jungly kind of green on the wall. But where did they get that green from? How did they decide to do that? How did they decide to use black? Take a look at the piece of art over the fireplace. The art and the bedding to me looks like it has that sort of a khaki green and black, the zebra print. They've taken those as their cues. So that is a huge point I want you to take away from this. What is it that tied all these colors together in this room? Because that's what you need. A bunch of different random colors going in different directions is not going to look good. And here's that purple color that we just talked about earlier, very similar. You can find that on Benjamin Moore's website. But notice here that this is a pretty dark color, but because of the large crown molding in white and large base molding in white and that piece of art, that gray purple color, look at the art. See back in there? See the green on the right, and you go right up from the green? That is the color that is in that wall. And I'll bet you anything that's how they selected that wall color. Would they normally paint the wall that color? Maybe not. But this piece of art gave them the permission. Do you see they could have painted that wall lime green? They could have painted that wall the orange. Here's what you have to ask yourself. I've got a piece of art that I want to use on my wall. And I've got 15 colors I can choose from for my accent wall, or for all my walls. You have to ask yourself, what can you live with? If they had picked the rusty orange, would you be able to live with a rusty orange? Maybe. But clearly this person decided, I could live with a dusty purple gray color. I couldn't live with lime green, but I could live, you see what I'm saying? What of those colors would be impactful and dramatic, but one you can live with? That's how you make your choice. Here's a room that we did for Joey. I have a video on it on YouTube, and this is where I have used red, dark red walls. I do not typically paint an entire bedroom red. I can tell you when I got to the closet area, I painted it gray. But in this room, red was Joey's favorite color. Do you know what tied that room together? Do you see that pillow on the center of the bed? There's a red velvet pillow and there's a striped pillow. And that pillow, the striped one, is exactly where I got my color palette. I chose my gray for the desk area from that pillow. I chose my bedding from that pillow. And I chose the pillow behind it from that pillow. This is Scott. Remember I told you he likes orange? This was one wall he did in his apartment years ago, and we hung up some decorative things above that. But I'm telling you what, that for many of you, I'm hoping that when you come away today, you're going to be able to say, I want to make a difference. Maybe it's just a bedroom that you have. Start with a bedroom. Bedroom is a really great place to start. I want to do something in my bedroom that's unexpected, that's fun, that's going to make me feel happy when I walk in there. What's it going to be? Well, for Scott, he had these pillows that you see kind of at the bottom of the photo that had all different shades of orange in it. And we selected the orange shade in there, and that's what we painted that wall color. Dunn Edwards came out with this new yellow this year. And yellow, I have to say, is a tough color to paint. I picked out this photo because it was a trending color with Dunn Edwards this year, and it's called Honey Glow. And the reason I think it worked well here is it's in the painting. Do you see the painting? Here's what that does. It takes your eye off of all the yellow. And as far as I know, this was just an accent wall. The rest of the walls were white. So you can put that strong color as an accent wall behind a bed or just on a wall that this piece of furniture on. Put that piece of art above it. You may say, well, where is that color in that painting? Do you see how there is this limey green color? There's an orange. There's all this gray. You come down at the bottom. Do you see right there at the very bottom? It's supposed to be like a shadow. That is where I think they took the inspiration of the Honey Glow walls. I think you can do something like your kitchen or any room really in an all-over color, a strong all-over color. Here's Valspar. One of their trending colors this year is crushed oregano. It's like fresh, basically. It's supposed to be about green leaves and stuff like that. Very strong green. Very, very, very strong green. Well, you can carry it off successfully if you pair it with white. And that's pretty much true with any of these dark colors. You pair it with white and you're good. So ceilings are one of those things. I'm going to tell you the general rule with ceilings, okay? With a ceiling, you have to decide if you want your eye to go up and feel open and you want your room to feel tall, or if you want your ceiling to come down and feel more cozy. Typically, if I have a ceiling that is 8 feet or lower, I nearly always do my ceilings in white or an off-white, and there's a million whites, which you'll see in your PDF. But I do it in a white color. My favorite white right now is Simply White by Benjamin Moore. Write that down. If I want the ceiling to come down, I'll put something on the ceiling. I may still paint it white, but I'll put some beams on it or some shiplap or beadboard on the ceiling, or even sometimes wallpaper. If you take a look at this first picture, this is a house that we did, but you can see that it's a high ceiling, but because I did a coffered effect in the ceiling, it sort of brings it down, and I did paint that in the light white color. Here is a family room where the walls are a soft gray. Actually, this is one of my favorite colors. It's called Pashmina, and it's by Benjamin Moore, and it is a fabulous color. You can tell here it takes on a gray, but in some rooms it takes on almost a kind of a tan color. It's sort of like the perfect mix. It can go light, it can go cool, or it can go warm. It's just one of those chameleon colors. Pashmina, one of my favorites. And you look at this picture here, this is all white, period, right? Although I have to say, it looks like they painted the doors gray, and I think that's awesome. Anyway, do you see how they painted that really ornate ceiling white? I don't know if it's always been white, but imagine if that was like gold. Like if the ceiling was white and all that filigree was like gold, it would just be like, ugh. But they've modernized it by painting it all out white, which I think makes such a nice difference. And this is one of my favorite ceilings that has this geometric detail to it. Look how the walls are dark. But with this light, amazing ceiling, what did they want to do? If they painted that white, what was their purpose? They wanted to take your eye on up. So in this particular project, I wanted to bring that ceiling down because it's 2 stories. It's 16, 17 feet high. So I wanted to create a little bit more intimacy. So I did the shiplap on the ceiling with the X-beam, but we kept it white in order to tie the space together and make it cohesive. But what if you want to change it up? You don't want it to be white. What if you want to take it to something different? Here's an example of a hallway. You'll see in this house, we actually used wood stain on the ceiling. It's a 9-foot ceiling, so anything over 8, you have permission to go with darker colors more effectively because it doesn't make it feel like it's coming down on you. But that hallway there with that dark stain on it really makes that stand out and look absolutely beautiful. And it has the crown molding in there as well. What if you did your walls a neutral color and you put hot pink on your ceiling? Now that is different. And I actually think it works in this room. Why? Because look, the headboard, the pillows, the bedding, even this little poof and the window treatments all have that color in it, but the walls and the built-ins are very, very neutral. So you can see how that hot pink ceiling really kind of made a fun impact. So for some of you who want to do something in your bedroom this weekend, try painting your ceiling hot pink. I'm going to talk to you about finishes too in a minute so you know what finish because it makes a difference. Here's a bedroom where all of the walls and the ceiling are painted a strong lime green. So you know you can do that. You can paint and it looks great here. Why? Listen, if this furniture wasn't like this and this room was just lime green, it would be disgusting. It would be horrible. But the bed has a canopy and it's white. So that kind of covers up part of that ceiling. The curtains go up. The furniture is white. The lamps are white. The bedding is white. Everything is white except, and even the flooring is white, except this lime green walls and a lime green ceiling. Very bold choice, but with all the white contrast, you see how you have the ability to do it and do it well and do it right. Now, here is a bedroom, again, where they have done the ceilings and the walls all the same color. And this is a dark gray. It looks like it has a little bit of the purple in it to me. What it does do is, you'll see here there is a soffit that steps out from the wall behind the bed up to the ceiling. That's a perfect time to do it because let me tell you this, they had a choice. They could have done the wall in gray and then the soffit here in the same color and then go with a different color on the ceiling. But what would have been a huge mistake is if the ceiling and the soffit were gray and the walls were lighter. What that does is that pulls your eye down. Color can make that kind of an impact, so be careful where and how you use it. And then here's one, I mean seriously, all in this dark peacock blue. It's a beautiful color of blue, it's absolutely gorgeous. But the walls, the built-ins, the ceiling, the crown molding, the base molding, all peacock blue. It kind of works, but let me tell you why it works. I personally would have liked to have seen it with a light colored chair, but they did do light colored pillows, which helps. But see that piece of art in there? Do you see how that is almost all white and cream with that little touch of peacock turquoise in there? All of the accessories are white. So because of the white sitting on the peacock, it balances and it gives contrast so that it looks right. So what I'm trying to show you, I'm hoping that this point is getting across, that when you do dark colors, you've got to balance it with the light stuff, whether it's the accessories that go in it or the furniture. These are some mistakes and challenging spaces. This room right here is a bedroom, and it kind of reminds me of my bedroom. It has a vaulted ceiling for the most part, and then it kind of a slightly vaulted over the door, and then a straight, it's like this ceiling nightmare. That's what my bedroom looks like. I cannot tell you how annoying that is. I used to lay in bed when we first moved here. I painted the walls a certain color. I don't even remember what it was, but it was just a color. And then the ceiling white. And I would lay in bed and my eye would look at those lines until I was blue in the face. I should have painted my walls blue. That's how I felt. It was awful. So anytime you have all these different ceiling lines in a room, the best advice I can give you is to paint the ceiling and the walls the same color. Another thing you might find challenging in your space is, let's say you're moving into a room that cannot be painted. Now I say that even after telling you that apartments can be painted. Well, in my own daughter's dorm room, the dorm people lived there, so we really couldn't paint the walls. And I'm telling you what, those walls were army green, like khaki. It was so green. But one thing they did right is it had a vaulted ceiling, and they painted the ceiling the same color, which was a good choice, except that it was army green. Shara had this very expensive bedding that I had bought her for the year before, and it had this really like leaf green, strong green, white and black, and the walls were khaki. I did not want to spend the money to buy her new bedding, so somehow I had to make this thing come together. So let me tell you, if you have a color in your room, your house, that you cannot change, you can still make it look great. Here's what I did. I looked everywhere. I went to fabric stores, I looked online, I looked everywhere. And I kept looking for something that would incorporate this Kelly True Green color, black, white, and khaki. That's kind of a tall order, don't you think? Guess what? I found a shower curtain at HomeGoods. That's the good news. It's cheap, and it had all those colors, crazy. But the bad news is it's HomeGoods, so there was only a couple of them. Found as many as I could, and I made window treatments and even a shower curtain out of this fabric. And the fabric having the khaki olive green, my green, the black and white, absolutely made this room come together. And this is how you make paint colors you don't like look amazing. This is a nightmare room. I mean, I would be so bummed if this is what I had to deal with, but this is what they had to deal with. So look what they did. This looks like a dormer where, look how the heights of these walls. Am I making my point? Gosh, it really has some very nice features in it. A beautiful rug, nice bed, they've got symmetry, they did their artwork, they did so many things right. But in my opinion, they missed one of the very important things to address, and that was those crazy walls and that ceiling. Do you see how it comes down? Every height is different. It is a chaotic mess. What I would do if I had this room is I would paint the ceilings and the walls the same color. Would I go dark? I'm not sure. Would I go light? I'm not sure. I'd have to get my bedding together and decide what I want to do, but I might go dark on this because I know how it's worked in my bedroom. Take a look at this picture. Here is a room that has a lovely fireplace, beautiful window treatments, nice furniture, chandelier hanging over the bed. I mean, it's really got great things. But do you see what they did? They painted the step up to that coffered ceiling the color of the walls. And I just want to oh, I wish they hadn't done that. I think they honestly should have just kept that all white, just white, so that the distraction of all those different shapes goes away. That's kind of the thing about painting, you know. You can accentuate something, or you can make it go away. Let me give you an example of going away. One of the things that is a pet peeve of mine is light switches, electrical outlets, heaters, vents. I cannot tell you how many times I've been in people's homes, they'll have a colored wall and a white, big, huge air intake right straight in front of you. I mean, doesn't it occur to them that that's like an eyesore? The way you can't get rid of it. Obviously, you need to have air intake, and that's where it was placed. And you can't put anything in front of it for the most part. Paint it the color of the walls. So let's talk about finishes and textures. So I'm going to use my own house as an example. This picture right here is my house when I bought it. But this was the ceiling in the hallway. Can you see how crazy busy? It was like a rough, what they call an orange peel knockdown. It is, I thought it was the nastiest thing I'd ever seen. And then to make it worse, they painted it semi-gloss. So it just, all of the ups and downs in it was so exaggerated. It was just awful. It was so stinking rough that it just, and what they do is they mud it. they put mud on your walls and they smooth it out like a hand skip trowel. And then this photo just shows kind of my accent wall behind my sofa now, because I wanted it as smooth as possible. When it comes to what texture of paint, like do you use flat, semi-gloss, whatever, your main walls, for the most part, I paint all of my walls flat, in a flat finish, either a super matte or a flat. With Benjamin Moore, we use just called flat, okay? The reason for that is it looks rich, but it also looks kind of soft, and it doesn't have a shine. It is the most forgiving when it comes to flaws, when it doesn't have any shine whatsoever, okay? So flat finish on your walls. The only time that changes is when you're talking about a kitchen or a bathroom. And the reason for that is they are not as easy to clean. Like if you're gonna wash your walls in your kitchen, I mean, I've never washed the walls in my kitchen, but I guess some people do. Most of the time we have, backsplashes and stuff that just take care of any problems on our walls. But if you want to, now I can say that my kitchen is flat. I would not have any kind of shine in my kitchen. I just didn't want it. Ugh. And then the other thing is in a bathroom. That's the place where you might likely want or need to have either a satin finish or an eggshell finish. I nearly never use a semi-gloss. For example, we just had an issue with our Rancho Santa Fe client in his bathroom.
Well, I don't like that at all. I think it's terrible.
The problem was I wanted him to have dark blue walls in the bathroom because it's a small room and it can take it, and we can do everything else in there, the tile, the backsplash, the vanity, the toilet, the sink, everything is white. You guys have seen, right? It's a really cool contrast. We put the paint in. Well, when we did, the paint contractor decided to use a semi-gloss. Why? Because it's a bathroom, that's what you do. It was bad, and the problem is the client hated the color. I mean, he hated the color. So he actually went in and had it repainted, a nice neutral kind of blah. And guess what? He realized why I wanted it to be blue. And I'm going to show you that case study here in just a second because it's pretty fascinating. Bottom line, he went back to blue.
Oh.
But when we went back to the blue, we changed the finish to a flat finish. Why? It's a guest bathroom. The shower is not going to be used hardly at all, probably maybe 10 days a year. There's not even enough time for mold to grow. There's not even a reason for someone to have to wash the walls. So why use a semi-gloss? You don't need to, not even an eggshell. Just go flat and something like that. Here's when you use a semi-gloss. If you are in a bathroom that is used every day, and you don't have your showers, let's say, don't go all the way to the ceiling. You don't have tile to protect everything. You might want the protection from the water, the steam, potential mold if you don't have good ventilation. That's when you want to use a different paint finish. If those are not an issue, just use flat paint. It always looks better. Now, ceilings. I always use flat. Why? Because it's very forgiving. So when you have any kind of imperfections in the ceiling, or like me at Christmas time, I'm hammering things up into the ceiling, and you need to putty those and texture them and get rid of them, it's very forgiving. Flat on the ceiling is my preference. Doors, crown molding, base molding. I use a satin. That's my first choice these days, satin finish. It has a little bit more of a sheen to it, but it is not shiny. For the most part, keep your sheens and your finishes down. The biggest, best advice I can give you is use flat paint as often as you can. That's what looks the best. All right, let's head down to woodwork and trim. So when we're talking about woodwork, I think this first picture of this living room here is so pretty. I love these high, huge crown molding, just huge, it's huge. So huge that it almost feels like a coffered ceiling, but it's not. The nice, huge casements around the windows and the casement opening into the rooms. They chose such a beautiful, soft shade of gray for the walls and then a bright white for all of their woodwork. In general, the way I do my woodwork, my trim, is I choose the same color for the crown, the base, the casements, and the doors. Nearly always. So whatever my trim color is, that is consistent going through the house. There are times when it changes and it depends on the room. For example, if you're following my YouTube videos, we're doing a house in Rancho Santa Fe. And there's a media room. And in the media room, I chose to not do the white trim that we have everywhere else. Why? Because we want it to be a dark theater room. So we have built-ins in there, and we have the built-in for the television screen. And I wanted it to go dark. So what we did was I had a faux finish artist come in and paint out the base molding, the casements, and the trim on the windows. And then she actually faux finished the back side of the door. You can do that. You can have a white door on this side because of the hallway and a wood stained door on this side. You're faking it, but when that door is closed, can you imagine if you were in a room with dark paint, dark wallpaper, dark window treatments, dark everything, because it's a media room, even dark carpet, and there's a white door? You don't want that. Or a white vent. You don't want that. You want to make it go away. The second photo here shows you a project that we did where the casement, the crown molding, the wainscot, even this built-in right next to the door out to the garage, everything is done in the trim color, and the trim color is exactly the same. Same thing as you go upstairs, wainscot, baseboard, casements, the molding on the ceiling, the crown molding, and the actual ceiling itself, same color. But let's talk about when you don't want the color to be the same. Well, what if you want to do, people have asked me, what can I paint my baseboard and my crown molding a different color? And the answer is yes, you can. Just depends on what you're after. Here's a bedroom where they painted the crown molding in gray and the base molding in gray. In my opinion, it works. It's darker than the color of the walls, and look how high the ceilings are. Very high. Looks to me like it's at least an 11 or 12 foot ceiling height. It also helps that they brought the same color of that trim mold on the curtains. However, anybody notice the short curtains? Don't do that. They need to watch my design session on window treatments. Here's a house that has a much lower ceiling. I think this is probably a 9 foot. It has wainscot and crown molding around the top and the baseboards and the doors. All of it a dark, kind of a mud color with a lighter color wall. There's no way of telling. It's kind of a bluish green. But it just depends on if you like that look. I personally think this room would have looked better had they done, an off-white crown molding and off-white ceiling. Even if they wanted to keep the wainscot that color, I don't know. I think it would have looked better in white, but they chose the dark, and I just want to show you this is what it looks like, and it can be done. But imagine if that ceiling was dropped to 8 feet. It's 9, so it's doable. One little piece of advice that I would give these people if they were watching is that mirror down at the end of the wall, the room, they should turn that vertically. Kind of bugs. Okay. Now here's another one. This, in my opinion, is when you shouldn't use a darker color for your crown molding. A couple reasons. One, this is quite clearly an 8 foot ceiling. So the ceiling dropped, and by putting that dark gray crown molding all the way around the room, it really draws your attention to the crown. It also draws attention to the fact that it's small crown. It's not big crown. So it's not really something you necessarily want to draw attention to because it's not that amazing. Then they put in these dark framed photos above an arched sofa, which meant they had to go up so high, there is not enough space between the top frame and where that molding starts. And then look at the lines here. They did horizontally striped window treatments with a border, and then there's a horizontal stripe for their yellow window treatments. Are you getting my point? There are a lot of lines in this room, in an 8 foot tall room. It's a little distracting. It doesn't have a sense of peace. It just looks like a lot of busyness to me. Here's that hot pink orange color in a girl's bedroom. And here's another time when I don't think it really worked to do the crown molding. Now they could still use this in the base. It's fine. It's a gray against that lipstick, and that's just an accent wall. But do you see how tiny that crown is? It's usually what they put in tract homes as a baseboard. So little, you kind of don't see it. I don't think it added anything to the room. I think the room would have looked better without it. And sometimes I just stick my finger over it and see, and I go, yep, it would. So just be careful about your ceiling heights and your crown molding height. Because remember, you paint that a different color, it's going to stand out, whether it's a light color or a dark color. In this bathroom, really tall ceilings, amazing. They did a grass cloth or even a fabric looking wallpaper, which is amazing. And then they used nice big beefy baseboards and big beefy crown molding in gray. And you see how it just connects so beautiful? It makes that wall look taller. So if you've got crown molding, big crown molding on an 8-foot ceiling, it's gonna make your walls look shorter. If it's a 9-foot ceiling, you can get away with it. 10 foot, go for it. Go for it. Just be careful at 8 feet. Now I have crown molding in my dining room here. And I think it probably drops down 5 inches. It's a decent enough size that you can draw some attention to it, not a whole lot. But it's a cream color. My ceilings are a cream color and my walls are white. So I have that contrast of the lighter and the lighter, but because it's such a light color in the crown molding, it doesn't give you that sense that my ceiling dropped and my walls are shorter. And then one last thing on woodworking. You know, you may have like paneled walls. I absolutely love paneled walls, and I love painted paneled walls. I think they're amazing. I love them when they're all white or an off-white or any color, but I thought this was beautiful in this dark gray where this whole room is, it looks to me like it's wood paneling, and honestly, it could be applied molding. We're gonna have to do a design session just on molding. That would be fun and ways you can use it. But this is a beautiful bedroom, and I think the colors look amazing, and I love this dark painted molding. So we're gonna finish off with doors because everything in a room has to be painted, right? In most of my projects, here's a picture of standing inside of a powder room. The walls are a soft gray, and all of the baseboard and the crown and all of that is an off-white or white. The doors are 4-panel doors, and they're all the same color as the baseboard as well as the ceiling, which I've been kind of getting that point across. Paint those doors the same color. This is one of my favorite pictures of all time. I don't know what it is about, well, I do know what it is, but this room captures my attention. Do you ever have photos like that you see and you're like, oh, I love that, I want that. Well, that's how I feel about this. These walls, we could go on to Benjamin Moore and figure out what color that is, I'll just bet you. But it's a very soft gray. And the crown molding is huge, and the base molding is huge. This has to be at least a 9-foot, perhaps 10-foot ceiling. And it's all of the ceiling and the crown and the base is white. But the flooring is actually dark espresso wood. So you see that they've got their accents in here in this espresso color, which looks great. But my favorite thing is the black door. I love black doors. You want to paint the door black, but the casement around it stays white, okay? So if your door is too skinny, it's gonna look really skinny. It's gonna really exacerbate that. But if you've got a good sized door, paint it black. It looks amazing. It can look amazing from the outside of your house, depending on your architecture. Yeah, it really depends on your architecture. But it also can look great inside. Here's a hallway with natural stained wood floors, but look at the black doors going down the hall and that amazing, talk about an accent wall, bam, straight ahead, incredible black wall with a sculpture in front of it. You'll also notice that this is one of those, the floors, it's a floating drywall. You know what that means? It's got like an inch of space between the floor and where the drywall is, and the baseboard itself recesses back in there. It's really, really cool, and that's in black. Look at this. They did it on a front door with the windows on either side, but look at the white casement around it. And then on a staircase, they just bring in the black handles on the stairs themselves, but nothing else is black. And then even the door handles here and the hinges are all black. Just ties it all together beautifully. Here is a project we did with a lot of the white baseboards and the wainscot and stuff, but notice the doors are black. And that just kind of gives a really cool look, as well as on the window treatments on the side over here, we've lined the window treatments with black to tie that in. I wanted to put in here, before all of you go out, buy black paint and paint your doors. There are times when black doors do not work. And in my opinion, this is one of them. This is a hall of doors. When you have door after door after door after door, do not paint your doors black because it will look ridiculous. Look at this picture. I mean, the doors are black. They're standard doors. They have white casement around it, which is fine. They use the black on the, I mean, the whole concept was done well, but too many doors. If anything in a house like this, I would have kept these hallway doors, which probably go to bedrooms. I would have kept those white, like all the other casements and stuff. And then the double doors that lead into the master bedroom, paint those black. And here's an example of a room where they did turquoise doors. So you can paint doors a different color. It doesn't have to be your baseboard. You can do that, and I thought it turned out really cute in this room where it's a nice soft turquoise color and then a deep rich turquoise for the door color. So some of your challenges that you may have, look at this bedroom. This has that soffit. I bet a lot of you guys have that, and I've had plenty of projects where I've had to deal with this. So the wall goes up a certain height, and then there's this like thing that goes like this, and what it does is it stops the where you can put your wall color, right? But not really, because had they taken this wall color, brought it through that pan and up, then where you see the ceiling line, the ceiling would have started there. It would have made that room look taller. This room is really cool and it has a beautiful ceiling, but it's a vaulted ceiling. And I don't know about you, my ceiling is vaulted in my bedroom. I don't like it. I'm not a fan of vaulted ceilings, but a lot of us have them. In my opinion, what they did here by putting this wood paneling on the ceiling and painting it white really draws attention to the ceiling. What it does in my mind is it draws my attention to the fact that that ceiling goes crashing down to the lowest point. And what's under the lowest point? The headboard. If this was my room, I probably would have painted the entire thing white, including that ceiling. The ceiling would have looked amazing in white, like it does. But I would have made the walls white as well. Here's another thing that you see a lot of times. It's kind of like a chair rail effect, but it's up high. So it looks like at the height of the windows is where they put this molding around the room. And then they thought, oh, I'm gonna do something clever. I'm gonna paint it different colors. And you can. Now in this room, this appears to me to be probably a 10-foot ceiling. If this is gonna happen, it's best that it's done in a 10-foot ceiling because you can afford to lose some height. But if height is an issue, just remember, anytime you change colors, you're going to stop your eye from the height of that room right at that color. Look how high these ceilings are. These have to be, that's 8, 9, 10. These are probably 11-foot ceilings. That's really high, which is awesome. And they've got this ginormous, crazy off the top crown molding. It's gotta be a foot if it's not. It's close to a foot or more. Really tall, okay? So all this space underneath of it, because this is like a creamy color that they painted the crown, all of that drywall space between that and the kitchen cabinets, it just screams out to me. I'm just giving you my own personal opinion on these. It looks like they could not change the kitchen cabinets. The kitchen cabinets are melamine. That means they're a veneer. They're melamine painted and they're white. But the crown molding is off-white. I wouldn't do that. If those kitchen cabinets can't change color, then your crown should be the same color if you're going to do it in white. If it was my kitchen, I would have painted the walls behind the cabinets white as well. That way, you get the impression that the kitchen cabinets are taller, lighter, and they go up. Right now, my eye goes to that ginormous crown molding, and that's all I see. Now here's one that I thought was really interesting. They created an accent wall. And if you take a look at this room, it's very, very symmetrical, which of course I love. They did this berry color wall, but do you see the problem? Do you see how there is an arched window and there's like a cutout that goes up in there? So from this vantage point, that cutout cuts off the top of the arch of the window. I think they could have maybe eliminated some of that look by doing window treatment panels on either side. But more importantly, because they painted this deep, rich raspberry color, it completely screams out. If I was going to make a focal point wall in this room, I think it would have been better to do raspberry on the sides of the walls where the beds are. How about this? Don't paint your kitchen red. And then when it comes to yellow, here's a perfect example of these people probably wanting a very sweet, yummy yellow living room. It's yellow. I'm going to show you a couple of kids' rooms just for the paint aspect. You can really go crazy in these rooms because they don't have to match the rest of your house. Now here's an example, but you can see here we actually striped the walls. This is not wallpaper, this is all hand painted. And this is looking over on the other side. He's got a scoreboard and his tennis rackets, all that kind of stuff. So a way to do it that's still classy. I remember a particular little girl's room that was challenging for me because I took the girls shopping for bedding. And I asked the littlest one, what do you want your bedroom to look like? What's your favorite color? And she said, purple. I said, okay. She said, I want purple on my walls, and I want purple bedspread, and I want a purple pillow, and I want purple carpet. And I was just like, okay, awesome, great, got it. I bought the bedding. I selected the paint color straight from the bedding, and we painted all the walls purple. I also found this really cool, like a carousel horse. It was an antique carousel horse, and it had already been painted out white. It was so cool. So when we finished the room, it turned out pretty nice, but we did a ton of white, a little bit of gray, and of course, purple. Another thing I want to talk to you about is exterior paint colors. Are you wondering, are you thinking about maybe changing the color of your house on the outside? If I'm going to do an exterior paint, this is the best idea, and I suggest you do it. First off, if you have a paint fan like this, and you can get these, just ask for them at the store or call a paint company like Benjamin Moore and buy one. But you can usually pick these up at paint stores. Okay, get one of these and then go driving. Here's how I picked the colors for this. I drove around the neighborhood and I found houses that I liked. And so I would stop my car, walk up to the door, and ring the doorbell. And when the person came to the door, I would say, hi, my name is Rebecca. I'm really sorry to bother you, but I was driving around and I love the color of your house, the color you painted it. And they'd say, oh, well, thank you. They'd be shocked. And I'd say, would you by any chance even remember what the color is called? And some people will actually go to their garage and look for the paint can. Some people, oh, I have that written down, let me go look. And some people would just say, you know, I don't know. And then I'd say, well, I have my paint fan here. Would you mind if I just kind of tried to color match with what I see here? You know, just sort of, see? And they'd go, oh no, help yourself. It was amazing. And I got like door colors and casement window colors and shutter colors. And now, because I'm doing it at an already existing house, someone else has already done the test drive for me, and I know I like it. So remember, if you have not already printed up your PDF that you got with this today's session, be sure to do that because there's a section in there that has the trending colors for this year. I'll also have the Benjamin Moore website lined out for you. And I'm going to have a list of my favorite colors, the colors that are friendly, safe, versatile, and the ones that I have typically used a lot. So I hope you guys found this design session helpful. I would highly recommend that you go back and watch some of the lighting design sessions, window treatments, furniture placement, so that you can kind of put all of this together. But we've asked you to send us questions at hashtag Design Sessions Live, and we have some of your questions now. So Pooja, you want to read them to us?
Yeah. I would like to know how to pick complementary neutrals. I have a green-blue that I'll be using for an accent wall. I would like to know how to pick a neutral to complement that.
It sounds like they picked their paint color first and they're not basing any of their decisions on something that already exists. So my advice would be to either listen to what I said today, which is pick your paint color last, or if you are really set on that color, then take the swatch of the color before you paint. Even if you've already painted, some of you may have the same issue and you've already painted. Take that color with you and go out and find, if this is a bedroom, say bedroom, okay, go out and find bedding that has that color of blue-green in it. You need to find things that are in that color so it doesn't look random. And then from that, you can pick your neutrals. Pick your bedding, your fabrics, your art pieces, all those things first, and pick your paint last, because all of those other things will give you the colors that you're asking for.
All right, we have another question. Do you have any tips for painting over tiles that line a fireplace?
Well, if you actually want to paint over tile, like I actually like painted brick. Personally, I think it looks very nice. I would, if you're going to paint over tile or something like that, you need to prime it first. There's certain kinds of primers for stone. Once you put that on, then you can paint it anything you want. I would still stick with probably a flat, maybe an eggshell finish on stone. Don't go semi-gloss, but an eggshell will give it a little bit of luster, not be quite so flat. I think that would look good.
Okay, say I like to repaint my room once a year. How do I keep selecting new paint colors that work without replacing any furniture or decor?
Make sure that when you select your furnishings that you are getting light colors, or all dark if you want. I mean, I'm not just for light, but I find that a light headboard, light furniture, or maybe like, espresso chocolate furniture and your bedding is white, that gives you a lot of latitude. If you have the espresso furniture, you're probably going to want to find things that have black and white in them as well to really make it pop. Like I showed you my daughter's dorm room, how that black and white fabric made the espresso furniture look really sharp. So you can change your color. You could, with black, white, and, well, just black and white, you could do yellow, you could do lime green, you could do purple, you could do gray. There's just about everything you can do with black and white. So keep your furnishings and your bedding neutral, then you can paint as often as you want, whenever you want, and just get a new piece of art or a new pillow.
Sylvia Wolf wants to know, if I select a color for an accent wall, is it okay to use that same color for an accent wall in all the rooms?
It's certainly okay. You might get tired of it, but you can. I mean, what I would probably do, Sylvia, is I would, let's say, pick a color for an accent wall. Let's say I'm looking at my living room, my kitchen, my dining room right now. Let's say I pick turquoise in there and I do a wall on there. Well, let me do it different. Let's say I put turquoise on this wall here with white curtains or something like that. Then in the window in my kitchen, I might use some turquoise glass in my garden window, so I get the light coming through the turquoise that's the same color or really close. And then in my living room, I might use turquoise pillows and get a base lamp that's turquoise glass that has the white. I might do some turquoise in my accessorizing, but I don't know that I would paint one wall in each room the same color. Might be kind of repetitive. I would kind of change it up, but definitely whatever your accent color wall is, you can repeat that in other places. Another thing you could do is, let's say this is turquoise, I might paint my entire bathroom that color of turquoise, but not just one. I think it'd be boring if you had just one wall over and over again. Does that make sense?
Okay, so Kimberly Lang wants to know, I have a teenage girl who's 13 and she wants to paint her room. We are thinking about white with an accent wall. She is always on trend. So my question is, since her styles are ever evolving with the fashion world, would an accent wall in a pale gray or a rose gold pink be a good idea, or would it become last season too quickly? What color would you suggest, or would you go with a different wall covering idea?
That was a lot. Okay, so if your daughter is always on trend, then you need to get used to changing frequently. I don't think you can pick a color that's on trend this year and always want to be on trend and then not want to change it next year because the trends are going to change. I can say there's some trends that stick around for a long time. Gray has been around for a long time, and I don't see it changing anytime soon. So if you wanted to do, I don't know that I would even do an accent wall. I'd probably do the whole bedroom in a soft pale gray with white trim, let's say. Then she could do an accent wall behind her bed in any color she wants. She could use that Storm color. Is it Storm? Yeah, that's that amethyst purple that's so big right now, or the green that's out, or the yellow that's out. That flesh pinky peach, which is what I did my house in this year, very trending. I would encourage her in that, by the way, regardless of the cost of things always changing, because that is going to encourage her to really be herself and to explore. And my mother did that with me, and look where I am today.
Okay, Sue Williams would like to know, how do you make the paint and rooms flow together, or do you need to?
I think I addressed that, Sue, in today's session where I talked about that little girl's bedroom. She wanted all those bright colors. I used the color Storm in the house, the gray, and then in her bedroom I brought that gray in as well. So there wasn't this huge departure. I think it is important to connect your spaces with the same colors and change them up a little bit. Just like I just explained with the turquoise wall, just one wall, whole bathroom, turquoise glass, turquoise pillows. Does that make sense? You can keep your paint colors consistent, pick an accent wall, and then just do all kinds of accessorizing to make it connect and flow.
Okay, Sheila Crystal Grant wants to know, what do you recommend for a warm neutral?
A warm neutral. You know what? There's a lot. And if you go to your PDF, I'm going to have a list of Rebecca's favorite neutral colors. I can tell you off the bat, Pashmina is one of them. And sometimes it looks cool and sometimes it looks warm. That's why I like it. It's probably the most versatile color I've ever used. And I've probably used it in, I don't know, 5 homes actually, because it was just the color that went any direction that I needed it to. Pashmina by Benjamin Moore. But I will put it in the PDF, so be sure to check that out.
So we have another question from Instagram. Lisa G66 wants to know, I have a lot of hardwood flooring in my home that are a honey orangey tone, which I hate. What is a good wall paint choice to offset it until I can have them refinished?
Boy, that's a really good question. Okay, this is how I would do it. Do you remember me showing you my daughter's dorm room with the green khaki walls? And I didn't like that color, but I had other colors I wanted to work with. What I would do is I would get a paint fan and I would find a color or find something that's the exact color of that floor. Take that sample and carry it with you and go looking for art pieces. You might find an art piece, for example, that has all these great colors in it. Maybe it's an abstract, and there's this like rusty color, that comes out from the side, and it happens to match your floor. You get that piece of art, bring that back to your house. From that, select a cream or a taupe or a khaki or a neutral color from that's in the painting. And then even some accessories and pillows and things that are also in that color of the painting, you can absolutely take that floor and make it go away or make it look like it's supposed to be part of it if you find a piece of art that you love. I am actually an expert at this because for most of my married life, 23 years of my married life, we rented our houses. We never owned a home until we were married 23 years. So that being said, I lived in a lot of houses that I had to live with things, and I learned how to do it. And honestly, everyone who walked in my houses loved them, and they didn't even see that eyesore that I had been seeing for so long. So trust me, it will go away if you find the right piece of art that includes that color and then take it from there.
Let's see. Heather Hoff Yohi says, help, my dining room has a chair rail. Can I paint it 2 different colors? And if so, should I go darker on the bottom or should I paint it one color?
Oh, she's talking about not the chair rail itself, but the wall, lighter and darker on the top and bottom.
But then she continues and she says, if I paint one color, should I leave the chair rail alone or should I paint it?
Okay. So a chair rail is one of those things. Can you take it off or do you love it? And if you love it, then I would probably paint a darker color on the bottom, paint the chair rail white, and then a lighter color on top. There was a photo I showed you guys in the session today. Remember it had like that molding that went real close to the ceiling. I said it was probably a 10-foot ceiling. It was a darker gray on the bottom, a white, and then a lighter gray on the top. Do you remember that? That's a perfect example. If you just took that down and put it on a wall, darker gray, the line, lighter gray, and then a white ceiling and all white trim, I think that would look really nice.
Okay, and then we have some pictures. We have this one of a fireplace. This is from Lauren. She wants to know, she says, I am a renter and this sponge painted fireplace is the owner's pride and joy. It doesn't complement anything else in the house and is really an eyesore. Any ideas on how to conceal this fireplace without damaging or having to repair when I move?
Ooh, that's a tough one. Okay, I would probably paint the walls around it in a soft beige color to sort of make it blend in because the white is contrasting with it and making it show up more. If you can stand a beige, if you're okay with that. You're gonna have to lay your paint swatches out and find. It looks to me like something like crisp khaki or lulled beige would work, and that's by Frazee. Also, I would try to cover it with art as best I could, or maybe a big mirror. Nice big mirror. Mirror. That's it. Mirror. Do mirror. And get rid of it.
Okay, we have another picture from Facebook. Nida Yusuf would like to know, can you please advise me which color suits my house? And he has a picture of the exterior.
So here's your house. It's very cute. It's got some great trim on it and a little red door. Do exactly what I just said at the end of the official design session before we went live on here, because this is just a matter of driving around. I mean, I look at this and I have no idea what state you live in, what country you live in, what your weather's like. It looks like I don't know if you get morning sun. I really don't know a whole lot. But from this, I would probably say, I hate to be such a gray person, but I'm really liking gray right now. Like a gray house with white trim and a red door or a fuchsia door or a turquoise door, some kind of fun color. It might be nice to try and paint. Oh, a black door would be cute. You could do a black door in there. You don't have shutters. You know what I love? One of my favorite outdoor, not outdoor, but exterior house colors is where the stucco is white, the shutters are like a gray charcoal, and the door is black. That's pretty. Not so sure about this, but what I was going to say is if you could paint your concrete on the floor, how you have that raised porch, if somehow you could do a coating over that, and I think Behr Paints makes an outdoor decking coating that you could paint over concrete, and I would do it in maybe black, but it depends on what you do on your walls. I mean, yeah, on the exterior. My best advice is to drive around neighborhoods and find something you like, and then just try to emulate it.
My room has cove ceilings, and I love the look of painting all one color walls and trim. I would like to know if I can pull off the look, but I hate the yellow and want to paint it all a medium warm charcoal color or a gray with a slightly mauve cast.
I love coved ceilings too. They're a bear to paint if you want to change color. I know that in my daughter Shara's place, her ceilings are coved and they had to cut in real specially. If you're all about painting it all one color, I think that's great. My only concern is it looks like it's an older home, so there's no ceiling light, but definitely paint out that chair rail. Right now, what it's doing is it's making your ceiling look low, and it's not a low ceiling. It's a really, it's a nice height of a ceiling, I think. So I think doing it in a deeper color would be beautiful. You also would need to do something to the built-in, oh, here's your closet. You'd need to do something in painting that too. If you're going to do something like that, like paint it all one color, I've seen those rooms that it's all one color. I think it's kind of cool. I think you'd want to do a semi-gloss, definitely an eggshell, but leaning perhaps towards the semi-gloss on your woodwork, because that dark color in a flat and then your woodwork being in a flat finish would look terrible. I think it needs to have some glisten to it. You may be able to do a window treatment that's a valance that hangs above this window and just barely covers it, so you get the impression the window goes up higher. Anyway, we're not on window treatments, are we? We're on paint. So that's my answer to your question. I hope that's helpful. All right, you guys, that pretty much covers the session on painting. I hope it was helpful for you. I hope that you got ideas and that I answered some of the questions that you've had ringing around in your head. Listen, no more of that going around your house and painting those swatches on the wall, because remember, it doesn't help anyway. Take the tips and the principles that I taught you today, especially those top 5 things, and use them as you paint your home. Remember, we have other things that you can learn about here, tools that you can add to your toolbox here on the design sessions. Things like how to properly light my house from all different levels. I mean, ways that will make it amazing. How about window treatments? Do you know everything there is to know on window treatments? Or where to place your furniture? We have topics like that and many more coming. So always be checking back in your feed. You can turn these things on and they can be accessible to you at any time. All right, anything else I need to say? I think that's it, except maybe I look forward to seeing you guys on YouTube between now and the next design session. Be sure to tell your friends about us. We'd love to have them join us as well. Okay, we will see you guys next time. Bye.